So the other day my wife went to start her 2007 Chevy Equinox and she heard a whining noise coming from the engine. So we're going to start it up and listen for it. There it is. And it's coming from either the alternator or the idler bearing next to it. So we're going to see what it is. We're going to remove the air box so we can get access to everything a bit easier. And you want to take this piece of hose here that's on the side. There's a clip right here you pull back on, and you twist sideways, and then you just pull this off like that, and that comes off. You just got to take off the side on the closest to the motor, the hose clamp, just using a flathead screwdriver. And then you want to make sure that comes loose. Just like that. There's a clip here, and there's a clip right back in here on the inside. And that will remove the cover of your air box. There's a clip right here you got to undo, pry back on it, and then you're going to want to push in right here and pull it out the rest of the way. Like that. And then you can now press this in and unplug it. And that removes the lid. Alright, so you're going to remove this clamp off of this wire loom. And I'm just going to take my screwdriver, and there's a little clip right, or a little pin right over here you can pull out. Then you just pull this back. And see, that's what I was pushing out on, to unclip it from this piece here. And that undoes the wire loom. Alright, we're going to remove the air filter, get it out the way. There's a 10mm bolt right back here at the back that you want to take off. Alright, now that that's off, now you just gotta kind of pull back on the air filter, or on the air filter housing to get it to come out of the front part. And then pull it all out, and there's the whole entire air box housing. So we're removing all this air box and everything in order to remove the motor mount, because we're going to replace this serpentine belt. And we're going to also try replacing this idler pulley here, and if that doesn't fix it, then we're going to replace the alternator. Before removing the motor mount, be sure to get a jack underneath it so it can support the engine whenever you remove it. So the motor mount's held in with two 18mm nuts on each side, and then three 15mm bolts to the engine. So we're going to break these loose. And now we're going to remove the three 15mm. Alright, so I'm going to make sure the jack is up against it real quick. Okay. Alright, now we've got all the bolts out for the motor mount. Let's lift it out. So I'm going to take a thin 3/8 ratchet, and there's a square hole down in here that you have to put it into, and that's the belt tensioner. So you're going to want to pull up on it. You're going to remove that tension from the belt, and then slowly let it back out. There we go. So you just want to unhook all your belt from the system. This one's pretty cracked, so I do have a new one. So we're going to start with the idler pulley first. We're going to replace it. We're going to put the belt back on it, and we're going to fire it back up and see if the noise goes away. So here's the part number, 36347. And there's the part. Here's the new belt part number. It's K060905. This is the new belt versus the old belt. You can see all the cracks in the belt. First thing we're going to try is this idler pulley. So we're going to break it loose. Now they've got the new belt mostly ran. The new one here. Put it in. Okay, got that in. Right, got my wrench back in, or ratchet back in the bottom. Get this started up on the alternator. Pull it back, get the belt up underneath there. All right, we got the new belt on and the new idler pulley. So now we're gonna start it and see if it's the alternator. All right. Oh, sounds like it's the alternator. The first thing you're gonna wanna do before starting on the alternator, you're gonna come over to the negative power cable and you're gonna wanna unhook it. All right, now that we got that unhooked, we're gonna come over here to the alternator, and there is 2 bolts in the back and 1 bolt on the side. And we're gonna unhook this bolt here, which is the power wire, or which is the wire coming in. So I'm gonna unplug this little piece here. Pinch in, and it pulls off. Then we'll get that nut broke loose. Okay, we got the wire off. I'm gonna put the nut back on it to not lose the nut. All right, so I've got the back 2 out. Now I'm getting the side one. Got this bolt out. And now we should be able to just lift the alternator out of there. Okay, got it out. All right, so here's the new remanufactured alternator. Went with Ultima. That's a R110146A. Uh-oh. Okay, got the new alternator back in, or starting to go back in. All right, so got the 2 back bolts tightened up, the side bolt tightened up. I've got the wire back on and this plug plugged back in. So now I'm gonna get the belt put back on and we're gonna fire it up and see what it does. All right, so we've got the belt on and the new alternator in. And so we're gonna fire it up and see if it still has the sound. Yep, it was definitely the alternator. The noise quit, so there's a bearing bad in that other alternator. I got the motor mount put back in, I got the air box put back in. We did end up breaking this little piece on this evap solenoid, so I'm gonna pick one of those up and we'll get that fixed and it will be all done. I'll put the cover back on. Thanks for watching and don't forget to like and subscribe.